What's up, music fans of the internet? I am Kevin,
I'm Derek.
and together we are last week's album where we're talking about good music, and in this episode we're talking about the new album from Ghost Culture called Ghost Culture. But before we get into the album, let's start things off like we always do, drinking a beer. Cheers, Derek, everyone home.
Cheers, Kevin. Everyone at home.
And a little background for you on Ghost Culture. This is the debut album from a young Londoner who refuses to reveal his identity. We only know him by Ghost Culture. He started out with just a synthesizer and a sequencer in his bedroom, and he's actually signed to the Fantasy Sound label. And he was signed after the label's owner and DJ producer Errol Alkin heard one song called How on SoundCloud, and he signed Ghost Culture right then and there. So, a little bit of hype, and definitely probably some good sounds coming from this guy. Let's get into what it sounds like. Derek, what do you think?
Kevin, I think Ghost Culture sounds like intimately detached house music or the perfect soundtrack to a really awkward party where everyone is on their phones and not talking to each other.
Yes, definitely some party vibes going on. I think this sounds like the soundtrack to the soundtrack to Morning After Memories of a Crazy Hazy Night Out. It's kind of like picking up the pieces and putting it all together, and none of it really makes sense in a good way.
Or that could play during the credits to The Hangover, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that would kind of make sense. Maybe not with what's happening on screen in The Hangover.
Right, no, totally, but yeah.
Yes. All right, let's talk about some key tracks from the album. I'm going with the album opener called Mouth. What are you choosing, Derek?
Arms. I like the track Arms.
How appropriate. We're both choosing tracks that are titled after body parts. Whatever that says. I'll start things off with Mouth, though. It is a very slow, skippy, chill start to the track. The groove really kicks in around 2 minutes with these bouncy synths and rackety percussion. Then it spaces out with these keyboard riffs, builds to a even better dance beat, and then it spaces out again for an even little more time. And it's the first single off this album, clocking in at over 6 minutes, which I think says a lot about Ghost Culture's unique approach in general. Most artists wouldn't have the balls to release a single at over 6 minutes. So this was the one that kind of really hooked me in, that it kind of oozes into you. It doesn't really hook you or grab you so much. It just kind of seeps in. So definitely check that one out. Derek, tell us about Arms.
Arms, it kind of opens up with this really kind of dark, lumbering bass synth that's kind of paired with this frolicking, higher-pitched reverb synth hook, electronic flourishes, and bass snare heavy drum beat. Those parts kind of come back in a reimagined form in the second verse, where that frolicking synth hook is now staccato and very crisp. The drums kind of transition to more of a hi-hat driven beat. And at the 2:15 mark, it starts this prolonged musical outro that seems to feature all these different elements and sounds as they were previously in kind of their reimagined form. Just really kind of builds to this very warm and weird at the same time type deal. The lyrics aren't only about the arms. As in one example here, he says, "Carefully take care of me, my loving arms. Flashing teeth, half closed, half open." So even when singing about arms, the teeth and mouth are never very far away.
Interesting. I like how you brought that back, Derek. Well done. Well done. All right, let's talk about best lyrics. What are you picking for your favorite line from the album, Derek?
Kevin, mine kind of comes from the track Giudecca. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And he says, "I'm laughing at everything." And I re-listened to that a whole lot, and I still don't know what's so funny.
Good point. Good point. There's not a lot that's sort of overly humorous about this album, at least not obviously so. But great song to pick a line from. I'm also going with a line from Giudecca. We're not sure how to say it. But the line I'm going with says, "How strange, I'm satisfied. And for me, that just describes this whole album. It's very strange and very satisfying at the same time. So that's why I'm digging it as a best lyric. And now for the overall rating. Derek, what are you going to give Ghost Culture?
Kevin, before giving my overall rating, I just want to say if anyone's seen the music video for Giudecca or Giudecca, whatever I'm saying, I think it's safe to say that guy really loves lamp or lamps.
I really wish you would have sent me that video. That line.
I thought you would have seen it. How strange. I'm satisfied. What can I say? I'm giving this a 4 out of 5. I guess from pro and con standpoint, I thought subtleties were great, but sometimes they were so subtle. You almost got lost in some of the minutia, and maybe in some points kind of lost some of the bearing. But overall, I felt like it never felt meandering, and I feel like sometimes music in this genre becomes too overly nuanced, searching, or often to the detriment of the work. And I never really felt like that happened here listening to Ghost Culture. And I really enjoyed the way the synth lines interacted and were reimagined. Kevin, just in mouth, what you were talking about earlier, at the 3:15 mark, where it kind of really breaks into the sparser instrumental section. At one point there are 2 different types synth lines. One kind of brighter digital key sound, and another more diffused, lower, looser line. They seem to be interacting and talking with each other and having their own conversation. I thought that was very cool. So there's some really intriguing things here. Being debut album, I'm interested to see where it goes from here. So getting a 4 out of 5 for me.
All right, Derek, we are in agreement. I'm giving this a 4 out of 5 as well. On the pro side, I thought he really masters intrigue and diversity. He really pulls you through this sort of winding adventure of genres and styles and moods from the bedroom to the dance floor and everywhere in between. Creates very expansive sounds with minimal tools. The flow of the album is really nice. I thought the tracks were ordered and paced very well. And he's got a very unique style that's really hard to put your finger on, but definitely keeps you coming back. On the con side, there's not a whole lot of vocal range or instrument variation. And for me, it was a little hard to tell when one song ends and the next begins, and some tracks are just a little bit long in my opinion, but it's always an interesting ride. So there you have it, guys, a 4 out of 5 from both Derek and I. That's an 8 out of 10 if you know how to add, and we do here at last week's album, so definitely check out Ghost Culture by Ghost Culture. Very promising debut album from a great British artist. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to us here at last week's album. And as always, I'm Kevin.
I'm Derek.
And we are last week's album, talking about good music. We'll see you next time.
Simple arithmetic.
That too. See you next time, guys.